Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
Breaking overnight, a night at Dave & Buster's turned violent. A man viciously attacked, then rushed to the hospital.
Shots fired on a busy street, 3 cars riddled with bullets, cops combing through shell casings trying to find the gunman.
A neighborhood just hours away from being sprayed down to stop Zika. Why some people aren't happy about that.
Breaking overnight, 2 American swimmers back on American soil, sticking to their armed robbery story despite Brazilian police saying the whole thing was made up.
4:30, happy Friday. I'm Virginia Cha.
And I'm Ariel Wessler in for Jason Martinez. And we've got Robert Santos joining us this morning, and weather's starting to return to normal a bit.
It is more normal, right? Yeah, we like being average around here, and that's where we're headed. Sure, it's going to be still hot inland, but just not as hot. Okay, so we're seeing some clouds across the sky for coastal areas. Temperature downtown right now at about 68 degrees. That sun rising at about 6:15 this morning. Let's get you ready for this Friday. Yes, it is Friday, the weekend upon us. And 12 o'clock, 75 degrees, high temperature, going about 77. So very close to our average, which is about 78, 79 degrees at the coast. Inland valleys, average is upper 80s. Guess what? We'll get there. 89 for high temperature. Now, far eastern valleys, yep, still some low 90s there. All right, in about 10 minutes, forecast highs across the county. Now, let's get you to the Live Center with Renee Nelson.
Yeah, I'm here in the 10 News Live Center monitoring breaking news this morning. We've got a massive bus crash, at least one person dead. And let me show you this video right here. Take a look at these images. These are 2 buses in Newark, New Jersey. These transit buses just ran right into each other. This was about 6 a.m. local time, so right in the middle of rush hour traffic. What we know right now, 1 person dead, 18 others were hurt in this crash. I mean, one of these buses appears like it's almost broken in half. I'm going to keep my eye on this and get you some more information here in the 10 News Live Center. Virginia, Ariel.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Renee. Breaking overnight, 1 man headed to the hospital, 2 more to jail after a brawl outside Dave & Buster's.
10 News reporter Jared Aarons is live in Mission Valley. And Jared, this rumble in the parking lot brought a lot of cops to that area.
Yeah, a lot of cops, Ariel, Virginia, with a lot of urgency because the guy who got beat up, he actually called 911 in the middle of that fight. Dispatchers could hear the fight going on while they were still on the phone. But here's the crazy thing. Police now think that the guy who got beat up may have been the guy who started the whole thing. Our 10 News breaking news tracker was here as police tracked down the other guys in the fight, 2 of them. A helicopter spotted them running onto the freeway on the 8 near Texas Street. Both men were arrested, put in the back of police cars. The guy who called 911, though, was put on a stretcher and taken to the hospital. He told police the other guys attacked him and even held a gun to his head. Cops and dogs searched the area for a gun. No word on if they found it. This morning, they're still trying to figure out what started this whole thing. But again, they think that the guy who got hurt the most may have been the instigator. There's no word this morning on how bad his injuries are. We'll keep digging into this, bring you any new updates that we get. Live in Mission Valley, Jared Aarons, 10 News.
All right, Jared, thank you. Breaking overnight, 3 cars shot up in East Village, dozens of shell casings lining the street. Photojournalist Paul Anderegg was there in the 10 News breaking news tracker as cops combed through the evidence.
This is the scene around 11:30 last night. This is the intersection of 17th and J Street. This is where 2 or 3 cars were struck by gunfire. You can see that SUV over there on your left. It actually had the back window blown out by the gunfire. And then this blue sedan here had several bullet holes put in it. You can see police have blocked off the streets. Now, those shots came from across the intersection here, catty corner. You can see other officers over here with over half dozen shell casings there on the ground. Now, they don't know why this shooting took place or if those vehicles were specifically targeted or just were hit by stray gunfire, but they are still searching for those suspects and for the reason for this incident. From East Village, Paul Anderegg, 10 News.
Happening right now, hundreds of firefighters battling this new wildfire. This one is near Santa Barbara. It's called the Ray Fire. Started last night, but has since exploded in growth to 600 acres. Some campers in the Los Padres National Forest have been evacuated. This one 20% contained. Now to the east, crews are making some progress on the Blue Cut fire here in San Bernardino County. That one 22% contained now, nearly 36,000 acres scorched. Some people are being allowed back into their homes, though CAL FIRE says the danger is far from over. Police arrested 3 people yesterday for looting an evacuated home. Ariel?
Well, today, county control crews will be going into backyards in South Park to spray for mosquitoes, all to prevent Zika from spreading. 10 News reporter Astrid Solorzano is live in South Park. And Astrid, the mandatory spraying has some neighbors furious.
Good morning, Ariel. And so a lot of the neighbors here in this area are upset because they say that they should have a choice of whether or not they should have the pesticide sprayed in their own backyards. Now, the reason why the county is doing this is because they found specific mosquitoes that can have the virus spread here in this neighborhood, and even a spoonful of water is enough for them to breed. The county is starting to pass out flyers because a person who lives in the neighborhood recently came from an overseas trip. They have possible symptoms of Zika, and if that's the case, and they do get bitten by a mosquito, it would take about a week for the insect to develop the virus. Now, the county wants to take no chances, but people like Jane DeLozier have a problem with the way the county is handling it.
I have a problem with pesticides being sprayed around. I mean, I think it's something we should have a vote on or a say on.
And here's a map of the 2-square block area being sprayed. It's highlighted in red. It borders 31 Street, Grape Street, 32nd Street, and Elm Street. The county says the pesticides are EPA approved and they're not going to be harmful to pets or to children. Now, the spraying this morning will start at 8:30 this morning, and the county said that they're not going to be using trucks to spray inside of the homes, but they're going to be doing it by hand. Reporting in South Park, Astrid Solorzano, 10 News.
Thank you, Astrid. Meanwhile, a San Diego scientist says the side effects of Zika could affect adults and children, not just unborn babies. Researchers at the Lochte Institute of Allergy and Immunology are studying the impact of the Zika virus on adult mice.
Learning, memory can be impacted, maybe not immediately, but perhaps even decades later. Maybe the person will have an early onset of Alzheimer's or depression.
The effect of Zika on children is not fully understood yet because their brains are still developing. The researchers are asking public health organizations to monitor Zika infections in all groups, not only pregnant women.
Breaking overnight, 2 Trolley police officers injured while chasing a graffiti tagger. The officers spotted the man tagging a trolley car around 10:30 last night in Logan Heights. They went after him and all 3 fell off the platform and onto the tracks below. One of the officers was taken to the hospital. Police arrested the tagger for vandalism.
Breaking overnight, 2 U.S. swimmers now back in the States from Brazil after police there questioned the Olympians about claims of an armed robbery. Police in Brazil now say those claims were made up. But as ABC's Stephanie Ramos reports, the swimmers are sticking to their story.
The Olympic-size event getting a lot of attention is whether or not U.S. Olympian Ryan Lochte and his teammates were ever really robbed at gunpoint in Rio de Janeiro. Brazilian police say that Lochte and his 3 teammates were not robbed after a night of partying. But the athletes instead vandalized a gas station bathroom and were questioned by armed guards before they paid for the damage and left. Lochte's been back in the States now for a couple of days. Teammates Jack Conger and Gunnar Bentz were escorted off a U.S.-bound flight Wednesday night and taken to the police station where they faced hours of questioning. Both swimmers heckled as they left the Rio police station, returning to their hotel rooms before boarding a flight out of Brazil last night. On the night in question, Lochte and his teammates maintain they got in a taxi to head to the Olympic Village, and that's where the story gets a little murky. Lochte laying out details to NBC News.
The guy pulled out his gun, he cocked it, put it to my forehead, he said, "Get down," and I was like, I put my hands up, I was like, whatever.
But police released new surveillance video from the gas station where the swimmers say the robbery took place, saying at least 1 of 4 Olympic swimmers are seen breaking down a bathroom door at a gas station, then getting into a fight with a security guard. Sources who spoke to all 4 swimmers say their story still holds up because 3 minutes of video is missing, which they claim would show the men being held up at gunpoint and bullied to sit down on the curb until they handed over cash. Overnight, the U.S. Olympic Committee offering this statement saying, "We apologize to our host in Rio and the people of Brazil for this distracting ordeal in the midst of what should rightly be a celebration of excellence." Authorities are asking Lochte and another swimmer, James Fegan, be indicted for lying to police. But any jail time is highly unlikely. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Washington.
Happening today, Donald Trump and running mate Mike Pence are heading to Baton Rouge to tour the devastating flood damage. 13 people have died in the historic flooding, 40,000 homes impacted, and 4,000 people are still stuck in shelters. More than 1,000 Red Cross volunteers from across the country are helping out with the relief efforts, including 5 San Diegans.
Breaking news update, still no word on this. Did you catch this in the sky here? This mysterious streak that lit up parts of the San Diego sky, that bright flash only lasted a few seconds. We slowed it down right there. Then it disappeared. Some say it looked blue. Other people said it started out green, then turned fire red, and then vanished. It looked a lot like this. Another flash in the sky. This was just a few weeks ago. This one was a piece of space junk that exploded into several pieces and could be seen as far away as Utah. Now, we checked with the National Weather Service and we asked them, hey, what was that flash last night? And they said, we don't know.
Your guess is as good as ours, I guess.
They said, we're looking into it.
Yeah,
When we find out, we'll tell you.
I know, it really is a mystery as to what it was. I mean, you know, meteors, we see it all the time
Right.
when the clouds are not in place. But this one here, we know it's not the Perseid meteor because that was already, you know, a week, 2 prior.
Right.
Yeah,
so either it's a phantom meteor that just, you know, rogue,
Exactly.
or it was something man-made.
Yes, whatever it is, I hope you did wish upon a star, right? And I hope it does come true. 441 right now. Look, right where you live, upper left, that tells me there are some clouds out there, but not completely, because that's the coast for you. And you could see that waning. Give us the moon out there. You see it on the upper right of that screen? So not completely socked in right at the coast. We are partly cloudy right now. In some places, mostly cloudy, like right around Lindbergh Field. You'll get some sunshine. Inland Valley, 64, mountains, 63. Everyone will see sun as we go throughout the day. Inland valleys, mountains, and deserts first. Inland valleys, you get to about the upper 80s. So these are average highs at the coast, upper 70s. Some high surf there, not only for today, but through tomorrow as well. Okay, so the hottest day, I'll show you that coming up in the next 10 minutes with the 7-day forecast.
Looking good, thanks, Robert. Oh, breaking news update, a chase, carjacking, and shots fired. What investigators are still looking into after the deadly series of events in Poway.
Intruders broke into the Brady Bunch home. What they ran into that made them run away empty-handed.
And a spike in the number of stingrays off a local beach, the reason why they are inching closer to shore.
Welcome back. It's 4:45 on a Friday, and look at all the traffic already on the 94 westbound going into downtown. We're keeping an eye not just on the 94, but every freeway and highway in the county to let you know if there are any problems before you head out.
A breaking news update. Investigators trying to figure out if a man shot by deputies in Poway actually fired first. We first brought you this story as breaking news at 5 a.m. yesterday. We've uncovered a lot since then. We now know the suspect stole a patrol car, ditched it, and carjacked an SUV. Deputies shot at the stolen car, and the driver crashed into an embankment, went down a ravine there. The sound of gunfire rattled a normally quiet neighborhood.
As long as I've been living here for the last 40 years, we just haven't had it. And so that was disconcerting.
The coroner is performing an autopsy to determine if the driver died from being shot or crashing the stolen car.
4:45, more than 11 tons of cocaine here in San Diego, and none of it is making its way to our streets. The Coast Guard offloaded the drugs at Naval Base San Diego yesterday, keeping a close eye on it. It's a combined total from 15 different drug busts in the Eastern Pacific between June and July. Since October, the Coast Guard has seized more than 81 tons of cocaine.
Wow. A woman scares off 2 intruders in the middle of the night. Her home, get this, the one featured on the TV show The Brady Bunch. LA police say 2 intruders broke in Wednesday night and the homeowner confronted them. Now, luckily she wasn't hurt, and it's unclear if the intruders actually got away with anything. The home's address is easily accessible though on websites like Yelp and Zillow as a TV landmark.
Now have the theme song stuck in my head all day, Ariel.
Yeah, I know.
All right, dozens of stingrays are covering the ocean floor off Coronado Beach. Take a look at this video. It comes to us from a 10 News viewer. Up to 30 people a day there have been stung. 10 News reporter Emily Thode explains what's bringing so many stingrays so close to shore.
Live action right here, Coronado. I'm going to show you how much stingrays we got in this piece because I already seen a lot.
Chris Kruger of Lemon Grove shot this jaw-dropping underwater video Sunday. The seafloor covered in stingrays off Coronado.
They were everywhere.
Kruger often snorkels off Gator Beach.
I think there was more this year than there has been in the past. I was surprised at how many that I saw in that video.
A lot of stings this summer, too. Lifeguard Sergeant Damon Bassett says on a typical summer day at Coronado, 5 to 10 people get stung.
We're seeing more like 20 to 30 per day.
No, stingrays don't attack.
No, they weren't aggressive at all.
They just don't like to be stepped on. Go figure. They have a painful stinger on their tail. And this summer in Coronado, the stingrays are coming close to shore.
When the surf gets small, they have an opportunity to come into shallower water and feed on different types of fish.
And just look at the surf, almost flat. It's been like this for weeks. Bassett also scuba dives off Coronado Beach.
I'll see stingrays out there all year long. It doesn't matter if the water's cold or warm.
But this many?
There was a lot.
That's Emily Thode reporting. The best way to avoid a stingray sting when you're in the water is to do, the stingray shuffle, slowly shuffling your feet along the sand.
It's like a dance almost.
I know.
Yeah, very
Yes.
nice. You know the stingray shuffle?
And you don't want to avoid going in the water.
Exactly,
it's like a new dance.
And I've done it before, even though I don't go in the water here. Just too cold, too deep. But do want to let you know about what's going on for the high surf. So we got a long period south swell, so that's kicking up the surf. Generally 45, that's what we're seeing for wave heights right now. And occasionally, though, we could get some sets up to 6 for southwest facing beaches through not only today, but even through tomorrow. Okay, temperature-wise, there you see San Diego about 68 degrees, Kearney Mesa also at 68, El Cajon 64, and Chula Vista at about 65. So a lot of 60s to start off our morning. Under partly to mostly cloudy skies along the coast. We can see a little clearer skies as we go towards the inland valley, especially for our mountains out there. So 24 hours ago, we were warmer. So we see on the map here was 4 degrees cooler right now compared to 24 hours ago in Escondido. So that's keeping with a pattern of seeing a drop in our temperatures. Ridge of high pressure still in place, but we do have an area that we should mention about. Again, the mountains and deserts, that red flag warning through tonight. So still dangerous fire conditions, something to watch out for through 9. tonight because of the humidity below 15% at times today, with those gusts to 35 miles per hour as well. Everywhere else, the most populated areas, our highs will be more bearable along the coast. Del Mar 72, Poway 87, Escondido 89. Yes, still hot, but just not as hot. In fact, seeing more average temperatures for this time of year. Let's get you through the weekend and then into next week. So high surf again through Sunday. Those temperatures in the 70s. Isn't that nice? Not much big change we're seeing for the coast. In the Inland Valley, some upper 80s. Sure, we'll bump up to low 90s Sunday, but then back down into the 80s. So that's what we mean by more bearable, still warm. Yes, you do a workout outside or do something outdoors, you will break a sweat. So keep that in mind. Still be warm, just not as hot.
I'm Jared Aarons, live in Mission Valley, where a brawl outside of a Dave & Buster's has police trying to figure out who started it. Coming up in just a few minutes, why they think the victim may be the attacker.
And breaking overnight, a canyon next to a busy street turned into a shooting range. The huge police response cornering the armed man.
Lindbergh Field running low on fuel. What airlines are now doing to avoid any refueling delays. Breaking overnight, are you seeing this? Dozens of squad cars just lining this Emerald Hill Street. A man was firing a gun near this busy intersection. Photojournalist Paul Endereg there in our 10 News Breaking News Tracker. Right after, you can see officers slap the cuffs on him.
This is the scene around midnight. This is going to be on Euclid Avenue near Hilltop. You can see the police activity here. This is after shots were fired. Now, they took one person into custody and recovered a gun. They were told by that person that he was just in a canyon firing shots into the air. Police didn't know if there was any victims or possibly additional people that were shooting. And they also were the ones that heard the shots being fired. So they have been searching here for about the last hour. They finally called off that search, and they don't believe anybody else was involved. From Webster, Paul Anderegg, 10 News.
Only on 10 News, an Encinitas woman now regrets her late-night showdown with an intruder. Amy Kong got a push alert on her phone late Monday night. The surveillance camera in her garage had snapped images of a man breaking into her car. She says her first instinct was to get him out of her townhouse. She ran downstairs, grabbed a kitchen knife, and charged into the garage. He ran outside, and she followed him.
Show him that I have a knife, and I'm still yelling help and police.
Amy says she chased him for more than 100 feet before he got away, but now she admits he could have had a gun and wishes she had just called 911 right away.
4:55, this is a developing story. Take a look. This is live, Lindbergh Field. We're showing it to you because the stash of jet fuel there is running low. Some airlines are now flying in extra fuel to avoid delays. An aviation expert tells 10 News, though, the new plane engines are so efficient that the added weight shouldn't cause any delays. Alaska Airlines is planning to truck in more gas. All this making some travelers a little nervous. That is not Lindbergh Field. Anyway, a similar fuel shortage in 2005 nearly led to unscheduled refueling layovers across the Southwest, including in San Diego, but airlines were able to avoid it back then.
Yeah, that would be what happened when fuel catches fire.
Well,
I would
yeah.
imagine, yeah. All right, breaking overnight, a man calls 911 claiming a fight at Dave & Buster's turned violent and ended with him being held up at gunpoint. But police aren't buying his story.
Happening today, crews will spray for mosquitoes around South Park to try to stop Zika. Why some people in that area say they don't want the spraying, no matter how dangerous Zika is.
I'm Renee Nelson in the 10 News Live Center monitoring this flash of light that happened over the sky last night.